If you want to see our previous videos, then click the channel name or picture below the video, then go to the video or playlist option. This is Bori critical Valmiki Ramayan book chapter 11. After several days had passed, the extremely pleasant season of spring presented itself, and the king made up his mind to undertake the sacrifice. Friends, please press the red subscribe option and press the bell icon for my latest video updates. He bowed his head down before the Brahmana, whose complexion was like that of the gods. The shout his favors for the sake of sons and the lineage. He requested him to be the officiating priest at the sacrifice. Honored extremely well, he agreed to the king's words. Let the requisite objects be brought, and let the horse be released. The king spoke the following words to Sumantra, supreme among ministers. O Sumantra, quickly invite officiating priests who are knowledgeable about the Brahman. Sumantra, swift in his valor, departed quickly. He brought all the Brahmanas who were accomplished in the Vedas: Suyajna, Vamadeva, Javali, Kashyapa, the priest, Vasishtha, and other supreme Brahmanas. King Dasharatha, with dharma in his soul, worshipped them. He gently spoke this word, full of dharma and artha: My mind is not at peace. There is no happiness without a son. That is the reason I have made up my mind to undertake a horse sacrifice. I wish to perform that sacrifice in accordance with the rites laid down in the sacred text. Through the powers of the Rishi's son, I hope to accomplish my desire. All the Brahmanas, with Vasishtha at the forefront, praised the undecaying words that had emerged from the king's mouth and honored the king back. With Rishishingya at the forefront, they told the king, Let all the necessary objects be brought, and let the horse be released. By all means, you will obtain 4 infinitely valorous sons, because your mind has turned towards dharma. Those sons will arrive. On hearing the words that the Brahmanas had spoken, the king was delighted, filled with joy, beautiful of those auspicious words. The king told the advisers, obeying the words of the preceptors, let all the necessary objects be brought quickly, let the horse be released, guarded adequately, and followed by preceptors, let the sacrificial arena be marked out on the northern banks of the Sarayu, following the ordinances laid down in the sacred text. Let peace prosper. This is the supreme sacrifice. If all the kings are capable of performing this sacrifice without any hindrances, they do not suffer from any hardships. The learned Brahma Rakshasas always seek out weaknesses. If the ordinances are not observed, the performer of a sacrifice is always destroyed. Therefore, let the sacrifice be completed in accordance with the prescribed ordinances. All of you are capable of acting in accordance with the ordinances. All the ministers agreed to this and honored him back. They followed the king's words exactly as they had been instructed. All the Brahmanas also granted permission to that bull among kings who knew about dharma and returned to wherever they had come from. When the Brahmanas had departed, the Lord of Men also allowed the ministers to leave. The immensely radiant one entered his own abode. After an entire year had passed, it was spring again. Following the rites, he greeted Vasishtha and worshipped him to obtain sons. He spoke these humble words to that supreme among Brahmanas: O Brahmana, O bull among sages, please perform the sacrifice properly. Let impediments not be caused to any parts of the sacrifice. You are extremely affectionate towards me, and you are my supreme preceptor. The sacrifice that I am about to undertake is a burden, and you are capable of bearing that load. The supreme among Brahmanas agreed to what the king had said and replied, I do not everything that you have asked. He accordingly instructed all the aged Brahmanas who were familiar with sacrificial rites, accomplished architects, those who were aged and extremely devoted to dharma, artisans who could see everything through until completion, carpenters, those who dug, astrologers, craftsmen, actors, dancers, and extremely learned men acquainted with the unsealed sacred text, following the king's command, engage yourselves in tasks connected with the sacrifice. Quickly bring several thousand bricks for the kings. Construct many structures that possesses all the qualities. You must build hundreds of auspicious radiance for the Brahmanas. They must be properly stocked with many kinds of food and drink. For the residents of the city and the countryside, there must be many beautiful abodes that are stocked with diverse kinds of food and all the objects of desire. Food must be given properly and with honor, not indifferently. All the Varnas must be worshipped, respected well, and given this. Nothing must be offered with disrespect or with sentiments of desire and anger. Men and artisans who are eagerly engaged in tasks connected with the sacrifice must be specially worshipped in the due order. If no one is disrespected, then they will perform their tasks properly. All of you act in this way pleasantly and with affection. Vasishtha summoned all of them and told them this, and they promised that they would all act in this way. With nothing being ignored, Vasishtha summoned Sumantra and spoke these words, invite all the kings on earth who are devoted to Dharma and thousands of Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Sudras, respectfully summon men from all the countries and the brave Janaka, Lord of Mithila, from whom truth is his valor. He is devoted to all the sacred texts and devoted to the Vedas. Honor that immensely fortunate one well and bring him here yourself. It is because I know about the earlier alliance that I am mentioning him first. Then there is the gentle king of Kashi, always pleasant in speech. His conduct is like that of a god. Bring him yourself. The aged king of Kakya is extremely devoted to Dharma. He is the father in law of this line among kings. Bring him together with his son. The illustrious and immensely fortunate Romapada, lord of Anga, is a friend to this line among kings. Honor him well and bring him here. Bring all the kings from the east, Sindhu, Sovira, and the kings from the southern region. Bring all the other virtuous and pleasant kings on earth. Bring all of them swiftly with their followers and relatives. Hearing Vasishtha's words, Sumantra quickly instructed men to act in accordance with the king's auspicious words. Following the sage's instructions, Sumantra, with dharma in his soul, himself departed quickly to invite the kings. Everyone came and informed the intelligent Vasishtha that the designed task had been completed. All of them told him that the objects needed for the sacrifice had been brought. Delighted, the foremost among Brahmanas again told all of them, even in jest, nothing should be given with any mark of disrespect. There is no doubt that if something is given without respect, the giver is destroyed. After some days and nights, the king started to arrive. They brought many kinds of gems for King Dasharatha. Extremely joyful, Vasishtha told the king, O tiger among men, following your command, the kings have arrived, as each one deserved. I have honored those best among kings, O king. Disciplining themselves, the men have made arrangement for the sacrifice, so that the sacrifice can be performed. You should now go to the sacrificial ground in every direction. It has been stocked with all the objects of desire, following the words of Vashishta and Rishishingya. On an auspicious day, and Nakshatra, the lord of the earth, left, with Vashishta leading the way of placing Rishishingya at the forefront. The supreme among Brahmanas started the process for the sacrifice. Next chapter, after an entire year was over, the horse returned. The king's sacrifice started on the northern banks of the Sarayu. Placing Rishishingya at the forefront, the bull among Brahmanas started the rites for the great horse sacrifice of the extremely great soul king. Learned in the Vedas, the officiating priests performed the required rites. In due order, they followed the ordinances and policies of the sacred text. The Brahmanas followed the sacred text in observing the pra- Pravargya and Upashad rites. In accordance with the sacred text, they performed all the other tasks, delighted all the bulls among the sages, worshipped and following the rites, performed all the rituals that have to be performed in the morning. In no way was there any deviation in any of these. The Brahmana checked that everything was properly performed. No one who was exhausted or hungry could be seen there. There was no ignorant Brahmana present, nor one without hundreds of followers. The Brahmanas instantly ate, the ascetics ate, the mendicants ate, the aged, the diseased women and children instantly ate and were still not satisfied. Many urgings of give food and different kinds of garments were here there. Many heaps of food could be seen as large as mountains, and every day they were cooked in the proper way. The Brahmanas praised the tasty food that had been prepared in the proper way. I am content, we are fortunate. These are the words Raghava heard. Ornamented men served the Brahmanas. Raghava means Dasharatha, Rama's father. They were aided by others wearing polished and bejeweled earrings. In gaps between the rituals, the Brahmanas indulged in many kinds of debates, wishing to defeat each other. Those patient and extremely eloquent ones spoke to each other from one day to another day. Those accomplished Brahmanas performed all the rites urged on by the sacred text. There was no one there who did not know the six Vedangas. There was no one without vows or without learning. As an ancient priest, the king had no Brahmana who was not skilled. When the time came to erect the sacrificial post, there were six each made out of Bilva, Kadira, and Parnina. There was one constructed from uh, Shleshmataka and two from Devdaru. These two beings laid out like two outstretched arms. All of these were erected by those who were learned about the sacred text and about sacrifices. To bring beauty to the sacrifice, these were ornamented and embellished in gold in accordance with the ordinance. All of these were firmly laid out by accomplished artisans. Each possessed eight smooth sides. They were covered with garments and decorated with flowers and fragrances. They were radiant like the Saptarishis in heaven. Bricks were properly measured and laid out, and Brahmanas knowledgeable about Shulva rites radiated the place for the fire. 18 bricks were laid out on three sides and it looked like Garuda with golden feathers as instructed by the sacred text. Animals, serpents, birds, horses, and aquatic creatures were tethered to sacrificial stakes as offerings to the gods. Following the sacred text, the officiating priests sacrificed these 300 animals were tethered to sacrificial stakes, including King Dasharatha's supreme horse. In great joy, Kaushalya worshipped the horse and used three swords to kill it. With a peaceful mind and wishing to obtain dharma, Kaushalya then spent a single night with the horse. The Hotris, Advaryus, and Udgatris united with Maharshi Pavitri and Bhavata with the horse. The extremely controlled officiating priests, controlled in their senses, extracted the horse entrails and, following the sacred text, offered these as oblation into the fire at the appropriate time following the rituals and desiring to cleanse himself of sins. The Lord of Man inhaled the fragrance of the smoke from the entrails. 16 Brahmanas, who were officiating priests, observed the rituals and offered all the limbs of the horse into the fire. In other sacrifices, oblations are offered using the branch of a plaksha tree. However, in the case of a horse sacrifice, the sacrifice is conducted with a single reed according to the Kalpasutras and the Brahmana text. The horse sacrifice numbered 3 days. The first day after that has been thought of as Chatushtoma. The second has been counted as Uktha, and the third is known as Atiratra. Therefore, other great sacrifices like Jyotistoma, Ayushtoma, Atirata, Abhijit, Vishwajit, and Aptoryama were performed. The king, the extender of his own lineage, gave away the eastern direction to the Hotri, the western direction to the Advaryu, the southern direction to the Brahmana, and the northern direction to the Udgatri as Dakshina. In ancient times, Swayambhu had performed a great horse sacrifice. Having properly completed the sacrifice, the king, bull among men, an extender of sacrifices, donated the earth to the officiating priests with the kind cleansed of all the sins. All the officiating priests told him, "You alone are capable of protecting the entire earth. We have nothing to do with the earth. We are incapable of ruling it, O Lord of the earth. We are always engaged in studying. Instead, give us something that has an equivalent value." The king gave them 1 million cows, 10 crore gold coins, and 40 crore silver coins. Collectively, all the officiating priests gave those riches to the sage Rishisingya at the intelligent Vasishtha. Each of those supreme among Brahmanas received his proper share. All of them were supremely delighted and said that they were satisfied. Having performed that supreme sacrifice, which destroyed sins and conveyed one to heaven, the king was delighted. It was a sacrifice that was extremely difficult for kings to perform. King Dasharatha then told Rishishingya, "O one who is excellent in his vows, you should act so that my lineage is extended." The supreme among Brahmanas told the king that it would indeed be that way, O king. You will have 4 sons who will extend your lineage.